Yes, it is working. All right. Very good. So, thank you so much for joining me here on the Zoom session today. And we are live streaming into my League of Badass Butterflies. So thank you. If you're watching live in Facebook in the group, thank you for that as well. My name is Crystalline Bell, and today I'm going to be talking about creating from your shadow. The title of the event is Creating from Your Shadow: 4 ultra powerful ways to turn your pain into gold as a spiritual life coach. And what I'm doing with this really is continuing this idea of understanding the power of the pain that we've gone through. If you've gone through any kind of particular pain or hardship in your life, you probably have a compulsion, and it feels like a compulsion. It's a feeling that comes up inside you that makes you want to help people. When I was younger, I had this strong compulsion. I'm not talking about when I was young, when I was a kid, I had this feeling of, I don't want other people to go through this. I had a very beautiful childhood, but I also had some really negative things that were working against me in my home, with my mom, with my family. And I remember as a child just thinking, I don't want anybody, no child should have to feel this way. No person should have to feel this way. And it was a feeling of, I'm going to help somebody overcome this. And the way I would kind of work it through was, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to tell my story, and it's going to help somebody. So I know, I know that in talking to you all, lots of you have gone through the exact same thing. Yeah. And I think it's really important to understand that this is a part of our soul's journey. Okay. And when I was a kid, this whole thing was like a need and a desire to end suffering. Okay. And as an adult, and particularly as I started moving into the healing world, I started off as a massage therapist, and then I moved into energy healing, and then now I'm a spiritual life coach, and I've been a spiritual life coach for over 10 years now. But what's shifted is that I've gone from wanting to help people get to stop suffering. I've gone from that to, I want people to be badass. I want them to have an idea of what it is they want to create for themselves. And I want people to know that no matter what they've gone through, they can turn all that around and find joy alongside their pain. Okay. And that's really what I teach. Like in my spiritual life coach certification for Badass Butterflies, I am constantly working with my students to help them find that source of pain within themselves, and to see how it's helped them grow, to how it's helped them develop, where their strength is. And then we build their coaching business on that very, very strong foundation. And it's a very good one, because when you come from that place of, I have been in pain, there's an authenticity that is extremely attractive to people. You don't feel like you're being lied to. There's no scandal that's going to happen with this spiritual leader right here, because this spiritual leader knows their pain, they know their triggers, and they come from that place. And the authenticity is extremely, extremely attractive. Now, look, if you all are joining me live, if you're here in the group and you have any questions, please feel free to type your questions into the chat. If you're here in Zoom, go ahead and type them into the chat. At the end of today's talk, we can open up the dialogue and talk if you're able to hang out. Otherwise, just any questions you have, please type them in and I'll be happy to look at those, okay? And if you are watching live on Facebook, I would really appreciate it if you would give me a thumbs up and also type in #live. Same thing if you're on YouTube. If you're watching live, give the video a thumbs up and type in #live. That's really helpful. And if you're watching the replay, do that as well. #live, #replay. That all helps me tremendously. All right. Now, before we get too much into today's session, I want to let you all know that I am running Spiritual Life Coach Startup Bootcamp. It starts in a couple of weeks. I need you to sign up now because before bootcamp starts, I want to get you a meditation, and I want to get you an intention building process, and I want to get you an assessment, a personal self-assessment that you're going to use to help you know if you are ready to start, if you're ready to become a spiritual life coach, because this is really important. We don't want you becoming a spiritual life coach or trying to become a spiritual life coach before you're ready to take on the great responsibility. It is so much fun to be a life coach, but it's also a lot of work. And so when we do Spiritual Life Coach Startup Bootcamp, it is literally going to give you the blueprint that you need, okay? Just like an architect needs a blueprint in order to kind of know exactly what it is they're going to do. You have to sketch all that out. You're going to get a blueprint. You're going to create, you are going to create your own blueprint, and I'm going to show you how to do it. We're going to take you through all the steps to create your coaching blueprint for your business. Okay. And then we're also going to give you the roadmap. The roadmap is equally as important as the blueprint, because Lord knows, just because you have a blueprint, okay, if you're an architect, you know the building don't build itself, right? So you want to make sure, it's the same thing with being a spiritual life coach. You have to know that your blueprint will be there as the kind of great vision. Okay, but then you need to know, okay, I'm going to do this first, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this. All right. And those things are what we're going to be building together while we are in Spiritual Life Coach Startup Bootcamp. So there's a link in the description. And let me see. Uh-oh, what happened? The disk space is insufficient. Okay, I don't know what just happened. I don't know if I got cut off completely. Nope, it just said my disk space. Let me see if I'm still live on Facebook, because it might be that something has gone wrong. Hold on. I'm going to refresh and let's see if I'm still live. Okay. Rebecca, am I still live? Hey, I see Lottie is here. Hey, Lottie, and Leanna. Hey, Leanna. I'm so glad that you all could join. Rebecca, am I still here? Am I still online, or did I get kicked off of Facebook? It says that I'm still live, but then I think it just stopped recording on my computer, but I'm not hearing back from Rebecca. So let me see. Yes, I'm live. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm just gonna roll and not find, I don't know what's going on with my computer. Yesterday, it took me literally 3 hours to get my computer to, it took me 3 hours to get my computer to even just start. So yeah, it's an issue. Okay. So anyway, y'all, I want to make sure, first of all, I want to make sure that you all have the link to Spiritual Life Coach Startup Bootcamp. So Rebecca, can you make sure that you drop that link in the, can you make sure that you drop the link in the comments? Also, I'm going to put it here in the Zoom chat, which is right here. Boom, there we go. All right, boom. Just in case Spirit Quest wants to sign up for boot camp, it's there for you. Lovely. All right. Right. Let me get back on track so that I make sure that I cover everything. Right. So, yeah, join me for Spiritual Life Coach Startup Boot Camp. Now, okay. Let's get back and let's talk about you. All right. Let's talk about you, my dear friend who's watching. I'm going to be very honest with you right now. And I'm going to just say that I am obsessed with pain. I came here to do pain. And I've done a lot of pain. And it's not to say that I like being in pain, but the fact is I've experienced so much of it. And I've chosen a job that lets me use pain in a very creative and healthy way. So I'm obsessed with pain, but I have a very healthy relationship with it. I want to ask you about your relationship with pain. And if you don't mind, I would love it if you would type into the chat. You don't have to, but if you would type into the chat, tell me just a little bit about your relationship with pain. And what I mean by that is, how do you feel about it? Have you experienced any pain or trauma? There's some people who really just are kind of like, yeah, no, I'm not really affected by pain. I am curious to know about your relationship with it. Does it affect you a lot, a little bit? Does it stop you from doing things? Does it stop you from living your best life? Do you do some weird stuff because of pain? Do you find yourself maybe, hiding and running away from pain in a way that is detrimental to your entire life? Okay. This is a big deal. And this is what you have to be thinking about as you are becoming a spiritual life coach. Okay. Now, in last week's live stream, we looked at how the pain you've gone through in your past helps you become a magnet for the clients who can relate to your pain, okay? And they want to work with you because of your firsthand knowledge, which is very deep, okay? You have this firsthand knowledge of the pain that they are suffering from, all right? And you've gained hard-earned wisdom. That's what we talked about last week, how your hard-earned wisdom makes you a client magnet for people who are suffering from the pain that you've gone through, okay? This was really important because if you're going to be a successful spiritual life coach, you really do need a steady stream of clients coming to you, okay? If you don't have clients coming to you, you are not a life coach. You might have a certification, but if you're not coaching someone, and if you're coaching one person out of the month, because that's all you created for in your business is one client a month, I respect that, but you could do much better. All right. Now, also, it's important to understand that using the law of attraction is a really powerful and natural way for you to bring clients to you so that you get to practice your craft. Now, of course, you also will gain financial stability and abundance if you are really, really good at what you do and you bring in a real business style coaching flow. And what I mean by that is one client per month is not going to let you leave your 9-to-5 job. Okay. But if you are doing anywhere from 5 to 20 sessions per week, okay, 5 to 20 sessions per week, that actually starts to provide you with significant income. So, and I was a 20 session per week coach. 20 to 25 sessions per week was what my standard was once I got my business going. And that was fantastic. I still see about 25 to 30 clients per week right now, but I do it in group coaching sessions. All right. So I don't do individual sessions any longer. Well, I do individual sessions, but just not, I don't do 30, 25 to 30 individual sessions like I used to. Okay. But you can imagine that if if you are charging, let's just say basic fee, it's not even, my coaching fee is like $250 for private clients coming in for spiritual coaching, $250 per session. But you can even look at the most basic coaching and say, let's say you do $100 per session. If you are bringing in 20 clients or sessions, you're doing 20 sessions per week, that gives you 2,000 so it gives you about $8,000 a month. And for many people, that is more than enough for them to be able to quit their 9-to-5 job and fully support themselves in their coaching business. And that is a very doable thing. Even if you and you do a combination of group coaching with private sessions. Anyway, that's a totally different story. My point for today is just that you have a choice. Spiritual life coaching is a real profession, and you can learn how to build your business in a way that fully supports you so that you don't have to work in a 9-to-5 job if you don't want to. Okay. And yes, the gift of being a life coach is the fact that you get to be a life coach. It is the most fun job ever. And it's particularly fun if you're like me and you're a little bit obsessed with pain and helping people get out of it, okay? So look, I've never had children, but I was at the birth of one of my friends' baby, and she's like, look, we're doing this in my living room. It's just you and me, Crystalline, because I don't want to talk to anybody. My friend is a Sagittarius, and she's like, I don't want all these people around me. It's you and me. And I said, yes, I'm going to do that if you will let me have 911 on standby just in case something goes wrong. But yeah, I'll be there with you to deliver your baby in your living room the way you want to. And we did that shit. And it was good. And that little kid is a thriving child. All of this is to say, I go to the hard stuff, okay? And my friend was there in labor, and she was rocking back and forth, and she, was squatting, and I was banging a drum. I was banging a boom, 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 boom. And she caught her baby in her arms just like she wanted to, so I was with her during that pain, and then that birth. That is what I do, okay? Because to me, pain gives birth to something more beautiful, and that is the process, okay? So I'm going to just check in here and see just if there's any feedback, and I'm going to also just refresh because it's hard to keep up with all the comments. Leanna says, I react to pain late. What do you mean by that, Leanna? Like do you mean that you actually have pain and then you don't know that you're having pain? No, you know you're having pain, but then you go into kind of like flight. You either do flight or maybe you do fawn, right? Where you don't necessarily deal with the pain in the moment. You don't even necessarily feel it. Oh my gosh, Myra just joined on. Hey, Myra, it's so good to see you. Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you so much for joining, lovely. So we're talking about pain, and let me make sure that I stay on track, y'all. But Leanna, yeah, I look forward to hearing your feedback on that, okay, on what you mean. Give me a little bit more insight. So what we're going to be doing today is looking looking at your pain from a different perspective, okay? And I want to show you how your pain actually helps you fulfill your divine life purpose, okay? The pain that you have gone through, even the pain that you're in right now, is a part of your soul's divine life purpose. So when you use this energy creatively, you are uniting with your divine life purpose as opposed to resisting it. Now, so many people say that pain is not a part of your purpose. That is not a part of God, but actually everything is a part of God. And when you come to earth and you are feeling your pain, you're having pain, your soul knows that you're having pain. Your soul knows that we're going to be having this pain. Your soul knows, your soul knew that you were going to be going through these hardships before you went through them, okay? So it is a part of your purpose to be on earth and to be having the pain that you're having. And then how you deal with that pain is also a part of your purpose. And this is what we want to learn, okay? Excuse me. Now, if we look at if we look at pain as kind of being base, and we think about alchemy, right? We throw that term around a lot in the spiritual world, but alchemy is this old science, okay? It's an old science of changing a base metal into gold. And the idea is that the gold has a high frequency, and we raise the base metal to the frequency of the gold. Okay, that's the idea of alchemy. So the base metal is raised to the frequency of the gold without taking away from the gold. Okay, and what we humans are doing, especially we healing humans, we spiritualists are looking for ways to turn what's base in us into light. And we do it through meditation and yoga, and we eat vegan, and we practice kindness, and we do all sorts of things. We chant, we ring, we bang drums, we do things to raise our frequency, okay? We try to keep away from the negative stuff, right? Well, that's what we're going to look at today. I'm going to give you 4 ways to turn your pain and trauma into gold, okay? We're going to raise that frequency and turn it into gold, okay? And this is going to help you be what I like to call the badass butterfly spiritual life coach, because the badass butterfly spiritual life coach integrates her pain into her life, and she lives a golden life. She's a butterfly, okay? But she doesn't deny her pain, like, oh, I don't ever have pain. I've never been through pain. I'm perfect. No, she's like, hey, I have pain and I'm a butterfly. I still got to fly. I got to fly, and I've gone through some things, okay? So let's tuck into my first tip for you, okay? The very first thing that you can do to turn your pain into gold, okay, is to do some cathartic writing, to write cathartically and tell your story, all right? So one of the biggest mistakes that new and aspiring spiritual life coaches make is that they think they have to be perfect before they can coach other people. And it's a big mistake, okay? And it's really an excuse. I am going to wait until I get perfect. Well, look, you're never going to get perfect. Perfectionism is a shadow, okay? You don't want to be held back by that, all right? It keeps you small. Keeps you in your comfort zone, actually, all right? So you don't have to be perfect in order to be a spiritual life coach, but you have to be willing to take a deep dive and work on your own shadows whenever you're called to do so by your soul. And you know that you are called to do so by your soul every time you're triggered, okay? So when you're triggered, if you're running away, then, that's not the greatest quality of a coach. But if you're triggered, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go home and do some shadow work. I'm going to go cleanse my aura. I'm going to go take a bath and deal with this shadow that's coming up. Okay. That is what's going to make you a great coach, your willingness to do that. All right. And I want you all to remember that healing is a journey. Okay. It's a journey, not a destination. All right. So catharsis is the process of purging yourself from emotions and memories by doing something. Okay, there can be cathartic experiences that you have, like walking on hot coals in your bare feet can be a cathartic experience. It can bring up tons of emotions. Okay, now writing about your pain and getting clear about your story is extremely cathartic, and it helps you heal even more deeply. Hold on just a second. I have someone else who's coming in to join me. All right. And many people find that when they start writing and sharing their story, difficult actions like forgiving and letting go, they actually become so much easier after you've done some really deep cathartic writing. Okay, so cathartic writing helps you release repressed emotions and memories. Okay, now if you have left those repressed emotions and memories like hidden, stuck, okay, that actually lowers your vibration, and that can cloud your judgment. It can lower your ability to align with your higher self, and they sabotage your work that you're trying to do with the law of attraction. So you know how on a conscious level you're doing all the right things, but then for some reason things just aren't working out, like you find yourself failing. All right, that is a part of your subconscious repressed emotions and old memories, old stuck energy holding you back and creating havoc in the material world, because you cannot create beyond your subconscious self. Your subconscious self is determining who you are and what you can do. All right. So by going through and doing cathartic writing, it's extremely creative. Okay. Yes, it's painful. Yes, there will be tears. Yes, you might actually get really physically sick for a minute after you've done your cathartic writing, but it becomes a really powerful clearing and healing process, which is going to elevate your vibration. All right. So how do you do cathartic writing? Well, keep it really simple. Okay. Just choose a painful subject and tell its story. All right. You can do it when you're triggered. All right. I love when I'm triggered. Look, I hate being triggered, but when I'm triggered, I love it, because I know that something in me is about to shift. I'm reaching another level. It's like the tower card in the tarot deck. That falling tower is coming down. And as painful as it is to be triggered, it is just so good for us. So, look, when you're doing your cathartic process, it's really important that you let the emotions and the energy flow. So eventually, I would suggest that you publish your cathartic writing process. Okay, you can publish it as a book, as an ebook, as a blog, You can even share your posts on Facebook. This is a great way of letting people know who you are, what you know, and you can turn that into positive writing. It's not that like you're going to just like spew everything and then put that up for everybody to see, but you're going to get it all out, okay, purge, and then go in and choose the parts that you can share, get the message, and then share that with your people. You will see that very often on my Facebook page, but also on my blog, where I've shared tons of pain, but there's always solutions for how my readers can use this information and how they can make the improvement in their own lives. All right. Very good. So again, if you have questions or comments, please type them into the chat, and I will be more than happy to read for you. Also, you know, we're going to have a worksheet this week. So if you would like for me to send you the worksheet, please in the comments type worksheet, and I will get that sent over to you. Okay. And also, if you're on with me here in Zoom and you have any questions or comment, Michelle, okay, I will get you that. Michelle, will you, I need to know your email. Please, can you type, you can send that to me in a private message if you don't want to share that, but like, you know, at the, around the message, you can say send to Crystalline privately, and then I will get that sent to you. I'll email it to you, okay? So, right. Yeah, this is perfect. Oh, hey, Michelle. It's good to see you, friend. Thank you so much. I'm just gonna make a note really quickly to send this to you. All right, very good, excellent. I will get that done when we get offline, okay? Right, so let me tuck into this because I want to keep us moving and I get a little bit caught up. Oh, by the way, remember to sign up for Spiritual Life Coach Startup Bootcamp, all right? Because we're going to take a really deep look at your past experiences, and we're going to talk about how that can help you in your business. So make sure you get signed up for that, all right? Let me get you all into tip 2, all right? Now, this one is really, really important. I don't know, like from where you are right now, I don't know how much you know about your ideal client, okay? Because you all are new and aspiring spiritual life coaches, all right? But one of the biggest mistakes new life coaches and healers make is that they think they know everything about their ideal client because they themselves have gone through the same pain, okay? So there's an assumption that because you have gone through the pain that you've gone through, you think that it's the same for everyone. And this is a huge mistake that actually will repel clients away from you. It's about kind of seeing pain and seeing other people through your own eyes and through the lens of your own experience, as opposed to having an open experience and seeing clients through who they actually are and what they're showing you. And it's almost a bit narcissistic the way that new and aspiring spiritual life coaches are like, oh, I already know who my ideal client is. I know who I'm going to serve. I know what they need. And while I really appreciate the passion, what coaches learn very quickly is that they were very narrow and that they were very wrong, and they get a very rude awakening. All right. So the way I want you to use your shadow creatively is to learn about how your particular pain, your particular shadow is being experienced by other people. Okay. Now, okay, so this is really important because a lot of people have an aversion I think it's maybe out of shyness or timidity, but many new life coaches are really afraid to go out and to dig into the lives of other people. So I hear things like, that's so personal, or who's going to share that kind of experience with me? Or I'm embarrassed to ask, or people don't really want to open up and share those old memories. Okay. Now, that is, again, that kind of small thinking that's coming through. All right. Um, I do appreciate that there is compassion there, but I also recognize that they're playing small. And the fact is that when it comes to pain, people do not like to be lumped into an undifferentiated group so that their pain is made insignificant and they are made to feel like, oh, I'm just like everybody else. No, it's just not true. And I think that's a really big mistake that people could make, okay? So be aware that when you assume that everyone is having the same experience that you're having, you're kind of displaying an energy of arrogance, okay? And your business is not likely going to grow with arrogance like that at the helm, okay? So I want to really get you out of the mindset of, I've been through this, I know it all, okay? And to get you into a more open mindset of, wow, I've gone through this pain. I want to learn how it's showing up for everybody else out there that is experiencing this pain, okay? Now, there are many ways to go about this, okay? In my certification program, it's called Spiritual Life Coach Certification for Badass Butterflies. I have an entire process for my students, and it's called the Inner Circle Client Profile Survey, all right? And okay, look, in this part of the program, my certification students are required to complete an 85-page worksheet that fully describes their ideal client and the way that they experience pain, okay? You're like, 85 pages, Crystalline? Why? Look, and what's interesting is it's 85 pages long, and the students look at it and they're like, I get no resistance from them around it. They're like, this is information that I need. I'm educating myself right now. And it's absolutely the truth. It's really important because this exercise really requires my students to research and learn about their shadow, their own shadow, even more deeply, because now they've set out to take it into the world. So they learn so much about themselves that they didn't know that was there before, okay? Also, let's face it, a shallow spiritual life coach is a broke spiritual life coach. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. If you are not willing to put in the work to go deep into the darkness and the light, it's not just about like, oh, you have to do darkness. I'm just talking about that today. But there's also the light. You have to do both, and you have to do them deeply, all right? You need to be respected as a spiritual life coach. You need people to trust you, and you need them to trust that you know what you're talking about, okay? You want people to trust that your method is going to take them to the place they want to be. If you cannot deliver on that promise because you're too lazy or too afraid to learn about what other people are going through, I can't help you. And because this is key. All right. This is a basic foundational understanding that you've got to do. All right. Seeing people and doing the work to understand them is an act of love. And learning about other people deepens your understanding of the pain and yourself. All right. So I know that I learned so much about myself by going through the exercises I take my own students through. It is so powerful. And look, in boot camp, all right, we're going to be looking at your ideal client archetype, which is a fun process I created especially for boot camp to help you identify your ideal client based on your particular brand of pain. All right. So make sure you get that link if you haven't already. All right. And I'm going to just check in and see if you all have any questions or feedback for me. Yes, and Myra and Lati, I see that you want the worksheet. We will get those to you as soon as we're done here, okay? All right, here's tip number 3, okay? How did the idea, again, is that we take this pain, we take this shadow, and we want to create with it creatively, all right? We want to turn it into gold. We want to alchemize our shadow. My third tip is for you to create an incredibly badass healing and transformation program for your ideal client, okay? Wow, can you imagine? You've gone through this pain, you've researched and you've looked at how it's affecting other people, and now you are creating a program that's going to help them heal and transform that pain. This is major light work, all right? Now, you've read books, you've watched videos, you've gone to healing retreats, you've done workshops, okay? You've done a lot to heal your pain, okay? Now, you've consumed books, videos, workshops, okay? Those things were all created by people who have done the work, who have turned their shadow into light, okay? They've put all this great material together and you've consumed it. Well, now you're on the other end. You're not just the consumer, you are now the creator. You're the creator, okay? So that is this third tip. You need to create the program that's going to help other people heal and transform, okay? So what is it? So a healing and transformational program is just a series of exercises, worksheets, meditations, videos, audio recordings, written content, and a curriculum, all right? It's basically all these little tools that you put together, and they are going to take your clients from point A to point B. Point A is, I'm in pain. Point B is, whew, I'm awake, I'm alive, I'm thriving, right? So it's a class, a program, a workshop, or even a retreat that you organize and put together that helps your client go from point A to point B. All right. Now, if you are a badass butterfly spiritual life coach, then you might say that it's the system that you're going to create to help your clients transform from caterpillar to butterfly and then break free from the chrysalis. Okay. So how do you do it? How do you create a transformational and healing program? Well, the first thing you do is you start off by thinking about tip number 2, which is, who is your ideal client and what do they need to get the transformation that you want to give them? Okay, remembering that your ideal client is different from you. It's not, what do I need? It's, what do they need, right? Now, then what you do is you start out by writing like all the steps a person would need to do in order to achieve their healing, okay? And there are different ways to go about this, by the way, all right? Like you can reverse engineer it by looking first at where you want to take them, and then you ask yourself, well, how do I get them there, okay? Or you can try looking at exactly what your own process is for healing, but then you adapt it to the particular needs of your ideal client. Okay, that's again really important because we don't want to be the narcissistic spiritual life coach who's like, what, you don't see it my way? What, it didn't happen for you like it happened for me? What, it came differently? Of course it's going to be different. So you want to make sure that you take what you've learned and you adapt it for the needs of your ideal client. Okay, all right, very good. let's see if there's anything else. Any questions? I did not check and see. All right, very good. Yes. All right, now we're at the last tip, y'all, okay? The last tip, tip number 4, is to write and share your research, okay? So there are many different ways to write about your shadow. Talking about it from your own personal experience was the first tip that I gave, okay? That can be like a narrative type of writing, okay? But here at this last tip, I want to encourage you to practice another kind of writing called expository writing, okay? Expository writing is just a fancy way of saying that you explain something or you present a concept in your writing. It's like a teaching style with a direct kind of like, hey, I'm going to teach you about what expository writing is, or I'm going to teach you about shadow work, okay? So you want to do that kind of beautiful storytelling that I talked about in tip number 1, but you also want to do this really powerful expository writing style where you are teaching your reader about their shadow or about the nature of your pain point or the trauma, okay? And that can be something like, yes, unworthiness as applied to blah, blah, blah. This is how unworthiness shows up in your life. This is how unworthiness gets instilled as, you know, in childhood. This is how unworthiness comes out in adulthood, right? Where you are not necessarily talking about yourself or you're not storytelling, but you're writing to educate. And you're going to find this to be a lot easier as you research your ideal client and who they are and how the pain affects them, but also as you are building out your coaching program, your healing and transformational program for your ideal client, you're going to be doing a lot of research on, you know, how do I get a person to change a negative belief? How do I get a person to stop the negative thought patterns? How do I get a person to start meditating? How do I teach a person how to do shadow work? Okay. So that research that you're doing, you're going to bring into your program, of course, but you also can be using that as a part of your content that you're writing that's going to educate the public about you and who you are and what you offer. All right. So you have to remember that in order to be successful as a spiritual life coach, you actually have to become a spiritual life coach. All right. And part of becoming a spiritual life coach is actually studying, researching, and digging deep. Okay. You can actually do this by working with people. So as you dive deeply into your pain, you know, you'll find yourself, you know, as you're working with your clients, you'll find your own triggers coming up. Part of pain will become your spirit guide that helps you understand your client. Okay. But you also need to be doing actual research and studying and learning by, you know, reading books, reading articles, listening to podcasts, reading journals, attending workshops, and you know, all these kinds of things. Okay, so doing this kind of research is a terrific way to turn your shadow into gold as you intentionally study your pain and learn about it from different angles. Okay, looking at it from a psychological angle, from an emotional angle, looking at the compulsions and the potential outcomes. All right. And how do you do it? How do you get all this information? Baby, just Google it. All right. Google it. Look, if you were a PhD student or a fellow, I would not be like, Google it. Okay. Because it's different. They have years that they need to spend before they get their PhD. But for you as a spiritual life coach, you already have a deep relationship with the pain that you are dealing with, okay? You can do, and look, here's what I'm trying to say. You need to be good at your pain point. You need to be good at understanding it, recognizing it, calling it out. You need to know the pitfalls of it. You need to know how it sneaks around, how it interacts in the subconscious mind, how it shows up in the physical body, where it shows up. You need to understand how it creates disease, okay? You need to understand your pain like that. To be a life coach, you don't need to be a PhD, but you do need to master a corner of your subject, okay? Whatever your pain is, you need to master a corner of it. You'll do that by researching, but I want you to also understand you're going to get a lot of that by actually going in and talking to people, listening to people, both in a subject, like I want to interview you, but also from the perspective of I'm going to actually coach you. And yes, I'm a novice, I'm just starting out, but I do know some things. I've done my research, I've done my homework. You're going to learn more. So you've got the research, and then you've got the sessions with your clients. That's when you are really going to soar and excel as a spiritual life coach. All right, so I have presented my 4 topics. If you are on Zoom and you would like to talk to me, I'm more than happy to answer questions or to talk about this any further. So please, you can unmute yourself. If you're on Facebook and you want to just type in your questions, feel free to. All right. I'm more than happy to. And look, don't feel obligated like you have to, but I'd love to chat with you. All right. So look, it looks like we got no chatters. Nobody's talking right now, and that's perfectly fine. No problem, my friends. So I look forward to seeing you all next Tuesday for Spiritual Life Coach. I'm sorry, for Michelle says writing is hard for me. Yes, Michelle, can we talk about that? Okay, see you later, Spirit Quest. Thanks for joining. Michelle, can we talk about why writing is hard? You don't have to come on camera if you don't want to, but I'm curious about why you feel like writing is hard. What's the challenge that you're facing when you write? Are you going to unmute yourself? Oh, dealing with emotions. Okay. And tell me a little bit more, Michelle. Is it about being overwhelmed by emotions, or is it that your emotions feel more stuck? Overwhelmed. Yeah. So I think this is really important to understand. When you are writing, it is a cathartic process. And what you're basically telling me, Michelle, is that you are overwhelmed because the shit is coming up, okay? And this is a good thing, but I know it's difficult, okay? So what I usually do, just my own personal writing process, is I always have my journal and I have a deck of tarot cards, okay? Or oracle cards. And what I do is I write about my pain and I let it out and I cry. And I always, of course, have a box of tissue right there by my bed, which is where I usually do my processing. But what I do is I write, I cry, I write, I cry, I purge. And when I am mad or when I need help to get past an emotion, I call upon my higher self or my soul, and I take a tarot card. And they will give me feedback that I need to go to whatever the next level is. That is one thing that you can try to see if that helps you. Otherwise, lots of ugly crying. I know. Look, I think I'm the only person who needs to have a box of tissue a week. Like I get the big box of tissue because there is so much mucus and tears. And, look, the ugly crying is so very valuable. So the thing is though, Michelle, what I want you to do is I want you to ugly cry, and I want you to write out as much as you can. But then that's not what you're going to publish. That's not what you're going to share with anybody. But when you are feeling less overwhelmed by your emotions, then I want you to go back and to look at what you've written and see identify the pain, identify the triggers, and then identify the solutions or what you learned while you were purging, while you were going through your cathartic writing process. And then what you're going to find, and this is a little trick that I use in my certification program with my students. First, you identify what the trigger is, okay? You identify the pain, and then you identify the solution. Is that what I just said? Okay, let me actually tell you the way I have my students do it. First, I have them write down, and this is how you present it to the public, okay? You've already done your cathartic writing. Now you're going to go back and you're going to write about it in a way that's more tangible, logical, organized, and not just an emotional ugly cry, okay? It's not just an ugly cry. So you identify what the event is. So it's the trigger, it's the pain, and it's the thing that started the pain, right? So the ugly crying started because you were triggered by something. The emotions got stirred up because you were triggered by something. Write that down, write out the event, okay? What happened? What day was it? What were you wearing? Give as much detail as you can because that just makes for better writing, okay? And then the next thing you want to do is write down how you coped with that thing in the moment, right? So let's say that you were at work and your boss yelled at you in front of everybody, okay? So you describe that, your boss yelling at you, and you describe how many people were there and what it felt like. And then how you coped with it might be, well, I shut down, or I acted like I didn't care, or I acted like I was not fazed, Or it could be that I just started crying. I just couldn't help it. I was so upset that my boss made me so upset I started crying, and then I felt ashamed, okay? So you identify what the event is, then you write with how you coped with it in that moment. And then, and this is where, you get to see the results of your cathartic writing. You ask yourself and you write down, what did you do to heal? How did I heal from this thing? Okay, and then you write down what you did. I went home, I did shadow work, had a glass of wine, put on some music, took off my earrings, took off my bra, put on my nightgown, got in bed, cuddled up with my dog and a glass of wine, and then I did shadow work. All right. You write that down, because what we're doing here is we're creating a really good story that has taken our pain and turned it into a really beautiful process. Okay. And then what you do is, the last thing to kind of tie everything together is you say, well, how did I, what were the results? What were the results of my healing process? You might be like, after I ugly cried and did my shadow work, I woke up in the morning feeling much better. And I had clarity. I had a dream that night about how I need to talk to my boss. And so I immediately got up and, sent them an email and said, I'd like to talk to you, and blah, blah, blah. All right. So that is one process to help you move from the overwhelmed emotions in the cathartic process into the more fruitful, productive, publishable is the key. It's not more fruitful, it's more publishable. Okay. Because to me, the ugly cry, overwhelmed feelings is really, really, that's where the healing is for me, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. And yeah, I'm really glad that you like tarot cards. I love tarot cards myself as well. All right, darling. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really glad that you made it. Thanks so much, Michelle. Yeah, and you are welcome, darling, of course. Thanks for the excellent question. Because there's so many people who feel that. I know they do. I've heard it before. This is what kind of happens to us, Anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful week, everyone. And I'll see you next Tuesday for another live stream. All right. Crystalline is signing off. Bye for now. Bye, everybody.